Welcome to episode 5 of Portal PT Talks. On this episode, we'll be hanging out with Jake Dunn, aka The Rehab Process, and Conor Harris. We'll be talking about COVID-19, how fluid and guts change your movement capabilities, what we're all learning during these weird times, and much, much more. As always, I'm your host, Kyle Waugh. Let's dive into the show. Talking to my boss too at work, because it's the skilled nursing, and all these people, they're paying so much money to be in that facility, which is ridiculous. But they're also gonna tag on it's so weak because they've been trapped in their rooms because everything's on lockdown, and they're not getting any therapy for who knows, just a couple of weeks for those folks in that population, and they're already weak. So, man, even though I'm now technically working now as many hours, it's only going to blow up because all these older folks and just people are just going to be so deconditioned after this if they're not working out or trying to be consistent with it. So I think we're going to be absolutely slammed within the next 2-3 months, month after all this. Sorry, there's a bee on me. But yeah, it's nuts. And even then, they were all on lockdown, and they were all that population's already having depression issues and all that. And it's just magnified right now. They can't see their family. No one can come in or out of the building. They're not even letting people get outside and just get some sun. And I'm like, oh my God.
That's a little scary.
To your point, Jake, can you, for me, I do the online thing, so do you, and I'm sure Kyle, are you doing anything online?
Oh yeah, I've been picking up, dude. I actually just got my first gold on Reddit for a post I just did, and
hell yeah,
man, I've been tearing it up with Reddit. So
awesome, brother.
Did you say thanks for the gold, kind stranger?
Oh yeah, man. No, he wasn't even a stranger. he wanted me to know who it was. I was like, dude, thanks, man.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I've been doing a lot of online and just making content. So
that's good. That's good because we have that as an outlet. But imagine the person that does they had a job and they got fired, and they have unemployment. They live in a 1-bedroom or studio apartment, and they have no outlet now to keep making money. It's that person, we think we're feeling a little bit less, normal than usual, but those people, man, I can't imagine what that's like, because they can't go outside. They're in this tiny 1-bedroom apartment or a studio. There's millions of those people out there.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that must be like. That must be tough.
That is sad, scary, brother. And I'll even just say again, I don't know how many families are truly struggling with it all, but like we mentioned, that depression's going to set in. People, if they're already uneasy on money, there could be a lot of things happening, like the family in Florida that I mentioned. The husband supposedly committed suicide and killed the rest of his family, and that's just sad to see. And I don't know where that's happening throughout the rest of the world, if it's just there, but those things are going to happen, unfortunately. And I think just putting people in a cage is what we're doing. It's a good thing, but it's also a really bad thing. People don't move. Pain. I for the first time in my life, I finally understand from a subjective way, because sometimes if you've never been morbidly obese, you don't know what it's like to lose that weight, even though we might know what to do to gain or lose weight, right? But for someone who has back pain that's constant, right? They're lifting, they're doing this, but they're at a desk job all day, like I am basically doing now, which I never used to do, right? I don't necessarily know what it's like to not move all day in different fashions. So that pain is different for me. So for the first time now, I actually got up yesterday and walked for the first time in a little bit, a long distance. And I've ridden a bike, but I hadn't walked in a long distance. And I'm talking multiple miles just outside. And what happened when I got halfway through the walk? I started experiencing aches and pains. I'm like, whoa.
Yes.
Why? I'm like, what is this?
Same.
Yeah. So I literally I'm like, wait a minute. I thought I'm moving. I thought this is supposed to be better for me. And I stopped and stood there for a second. I'm like, wait a minute. I've been sedentary for way too long. Maybe now that I'm actually moving, this could be developing some sort of threat to my body, some ache and pain, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, right? But again, it doesn't mean that I'm going to feel better just from moving instantly. So it showed that I actually got some weird pain or symptoms from it. So people might feel like, wait a minute, you told me to move, Jake. You told me to just walk throughout my day more. All of a sudden I started getting more aches and pains. I'm like, how does that? I'm thinking, whoa, how could this be? Like, how could this happen? You move, the more you move, the better you'll be, right? But then of course, I started just noticing different positions that I was hanging out in when I was walking. Was I just laying on my joints, or did I try to load one leg? When I loaded one leg, the pain went completely away. But the second I relaxed back and just flopped over, standing up in a bad position, came up again. So who's to say that just moving is, it could bring on different issues. Like we might think we're helping one thing, but something else might pop up at the same time. So for someone that never moves at all throughout their day, moving could bring on some sort of pain or ache that's not necessarily a positive feeling right off the bat, but hopefully in due time it'll subside. Because for myself, now I've experienced it now, and I never in my life experienced that. So it brought me a little back and more empathetic to understand things and be a little bit more understanding of anything that can happen. Let's just see what happens, and let's just take notes on what we're doing throughout the day, because of course that's going to matter. But the more I moved and the more I positioned myself in within a proper intent, the pain went away immediately. So I think that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Like I know how to solve pain on myself because I know how my body works. So if I feel something achy, I'll be like, yeah, I'm just going to do this and then I'm good. But I went for a run last week and my left Achilles was like not happy. My right shoulder right now is not happy. And it's from sitting. There's no way it's anything else, because this is going to make me throw up when I say this, but last week I averaged 1,600 steps every single day. That is horrible. That's so bad. Tuesday, I got 762. It's like, I stood up like twice.
Yeah.
It's so bad. You can't do that. And my body's like, it's starting to adapt to that. So I definitely feel it. And man, it's just, I have to get out there this week. Every single day, I'm trying to at least run or walk 2 miles, just at least. Because if I don't, man, it's amazing. And at least it's like helping me empathize with those people who have those desk jobs, who sit all day, because that's essentially what, we're doing now, all three of us.
100%.
I mean, dude, and then you add in, I remember you did a post or one of your podcasts, Conor, and you were talking about like the visual system. We're also staring at something so close. We're not getting any just our nervous systems, man. They're whacked out right now.
Yeah. Because if you look at anything close all the time, that's central vision, which is like your pupils dilate. That's sympathetic nervous system drive. That's why, like me looking outside my window right now, I feel immediately more relaxed. And that's because it's more peripheral. It's more me. There's more objects in my periphery. There's nothing right up close. So I think that's a big reason why when people go outside, they feel instantly better, assuming it's like a nice day and you have other things going for you too. But it's so important just to like sit outside and do work. I've been trying that too, and that works, like you're doing right now.
Dude, yeah. Except for this bee, man. I'm about to like have a serious fight with him. Like he's been all around me. But yeah, man, like
I've never been stung by a bee. It's amazing.
Really? Oh man. My dad.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm allergic. It's probably a bad thing at this point.
Dude, be careful. I don't know. I've been stung by plenty. We had my dad did like beekeeping for a while. So you just got to be calm with them. And they'll just land on you and shit. But I just don't like him still. He's pissing me off. But yeah, no, in terms of like the visual system, I don't know, man. Like I did my fair share this past couple of weeks playing some video games. And like when I would stand up after like a couple of hours, and that's something like, I'm playing some Call of Duty and that adrenaline kicks in, but I'm just stationary and I'm playing and then like you stand up after a while and you're like, what happened to me? Like, I feel like I got hit by a truck, man. Like, yeah, I can't imagine. Well, I've been there actually, like what it's like to not have these skills and everything that we all possess now. Am I still there?
You're still there, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. But yeah, the skills that we possess to like get out of those positions and out of that like wacky nervous system.
Yeah, you gotta be able to alternate in all things, I think.
Yeah, man.
Like you gotta be able to move one side of the body relative to the other and vice versa.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to go parasympathetic, sympathetic. You gotta be able to go to internal, external rotation. Like I think we're meant to be alternating creatures.
Definitely.
Because that's literally how we're designed. We're bipedal for a reason. So if we don't do that and we're constantly in like static stance or constantly in this sitting, like, you know, I think it's important to realize that for most of, you know, us being human beings, only the last like, what, 50 years we've been sitting more, and
Right.
we've been human beings for like what, arguably 100,000 years. Like, I'm gonna break down. It's not gonna go too well.
Or we've been
Gonna
on
adapt.
Look at it on that scale, then.
we've been on two legs for however many, like what they say, like 3 to 4 million years. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, we're just
We don't know
slapping-
anything.
Yeah, we're slapping nature in the face right now. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know. But I mean, how are your all's like workouts looking with all this? Like, are you like, Conor, you said you're just kind of running, getting some steps in, but are you guys even
Yeah.
having
I have a great story about that. I have so Oregon doesn't have that many fitness like stores for equipment. So 2.5 weeks I went and I tried to find a barbell. I tried to find some weight plates. I tried to do everything. I spent literally 10 hours of my day going to all these different places in town. And I finally found one that had one barbell left. And this is not a high quality barbell, but they charged me $250 for it. And I paid it happily because it's the only thing that I have now. I have this barbell, and then I have some god awful plates that I bought off of Craigslist. And so this other place, for some reason, it was the most untapped place all in town. Not one single Dick's Sporting Goods, not one single like Big Five, not one single like Equipper had one 45-pound plate available. This place had a couple, and they were charging $3 a pound. You can do the math in your head. There's no way. Like, even I have my limits of what I'm willing to do. So I eventually went on Craigslist, got some 45-pound plates. They're only $1 a pound, and even that was like a lot for how terrible these are. But you know, they get the job done. So I have a barbell, some plates, and you know, that's about it. A bench. So I gotta get creative with that. But you can still do stuff. It's hard to do anything besides like deadlifts in terms of like legs, split squats, Jefferson deadlifts, stuff like that.
I saw someone, they went to Home Depot and just got a couple dowel rods and like cement blocks. And they just like slide the cement blocks on there, and they're like deadlifting and rowing and pressing and all that. I was like, that's pretty smart.
You know what I did with my time? I built a custom cornhole set out of wood from Lowe's. It was great.
Yeah,
that's my exercise. How's that for exercise? Add that to your list. The rehab process is playing cornhole professionally right now. No, but seriously, it was really cool. Everyone got crafty, you know. Everyone's doing something that they can do. Luckily, I built a squat ramp. I built my own squat ramp out of wood from Lowe's, and I got it stained and did everything. So I'm doing all my stuff on there. I think people can really utilize isometrics really well in this time. You know, I think I'll stand there in a deep split squat, whether I'm shifted or not, it doesn't matter. And if I know what I'm doing, I'm gonna burn. It's only a matter of time. If you know how to load yourself different angles, you're good. Again, this is just a matter of like maintaining almost. Luckily, I have some weights that I've always had. I don't know what they're called. The dumbbells where you can rack numerous weights at one time. You know what I'm talking about? You can offload the weights. The big one. Yeah. I have that, which is good. But I'm not like I said, I was more sedentary honestly in the beginning because I saw this as an opportunity to continue to thrive with what I'm doing online and build that. So I like I said, I had the back problem or aches when I got up and walked for the first time, right? So it's because I was sitting and I was just pushing away at what I want to do, what my tunnel vision is. But at the same time, you know, I do know I need to get out. So I ride bikes a lot. I played tennis yesterday, using this time to play things that I used to play a lot growing up, instead of just having to lift. I think it's so important for people to do. It's not even just lift, it's just to do things that they love to do, whether it's different movements, so it's different sports, activities you can do. And it's just enjoy it, you know, that's it.
That's so true, man. Yeah, just like having fun, I think is so important at this time. Something I've actually experimented with the last couple of days, and I've found a lot of success with it, is I have a timer on my phone. Every hour, it goes off. I get up I go over to my bench. I go on a wall. I do something like I do 15 reps of split squats, like lateral lunges with some sort of weight I'm holding. I could do push-ups. I could do anything, like whatever. And I find if I do that on each side, make it a unit activity in this bilateral split squat, static stance for, so many hours a day. So I make it unilateral. And then I do 15 reps, and then every hour I do that. And I find that helps counteract a lot of the sitting. I do feel better. And I think it burns some calories. I think it keeps my TDEE, total daily expenditure, up. And I think that, if you make those reps hard enough, you're gonna probably get a nice hypertrophic response, because if you think about what the overall primary driver of hypertrophy is, it's total volume accumulated. So if you make those sets hard enough, then hey, you're probably stimulating something. And over the course of a day, that adds up really quick. And then you're getting heart rate variability on top of that. So I think that's a pretty good way to do it. And it's really not that hard. It takes like 90 seconds. You're done.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Honestly, man, all I've been doing is just running around the yard with my dog. Like, dude, I've just literally been like, I take my shirt off, I get some sunshine. We've been lucky enough to have a lot of sun lately. I do some ISOs. I've been doing a ton of ISOs, just dropping into like Cossack squat, isometric lunges, go sprint around the yard with the dog. I've been running more than I really ever have, but just like casual, 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, just kind of getting my heart rate up and enjoying being outside more and not having to like actually, because when I was back in Seattle, I was working non-stop. I mean, it was either online or in the clinic. So I technically was pulling 10, 12-hour days, no matter what. And with that, you just don't realize how much like stress I'm resilient, and I definitely use a lot of tools to help myself out. But you just take for granted what it's like to be calm and relaxed.
Yep, 100%. And if you think about this, though, think about how we've never, or when was the last time you had 2 months off of work?
Never. Well,
we got to think. Okay. Well, yeah, maybe when you were on summer break. Yeah, high school, summer break. But picture 20 years from now, right? If you're thinking back, when was the last time you had over 2 months? Who knows? It could be 6. We don't know, right? But it could be that long. So if anything, use it as a positive thing. As long as you can survive or whatever it is that you need to do, right? Use it as a positive thing, because it's in a way, some people are probably experiencing like a big vacation that they've never experienced before, because they're so used to working their butt off all day long, wherever they're at. Again, as long as they can survive, and that there's different variables that come to play. But in a way, just look at it from that standpoint, it can get a little bit better,
I think so, man. I think that's really important. Like at the beginning of it, I sent out a tweet and I was like, hey, think about all those times you said to yourself, man, if I just had like a week, I could catch up on all these things. Well, now you have it. And there's a lot of projects I'm working on and a lot of things that I'm trying to get done, like within myself. And like I'm trying to play the piano again. Like that's, it's just a good outlet to have. And that's something I never really had before. Like I would play it on and off, but I never played it consistently because it was always something that I wanted to spend time doing other things with. So that's been really nice and a good outlet, and it helps take my mind off of it. But for other people, I'm sure there's different things like house projects, like, I don't know, maybe spending time with our families more if they're not driving us too crazy.
That's weird.
I think it is a positive thing, and that's a good point. Yeah.
I wish I had a house right now. Like, I wish I had a house that I could like do home improvement to. That'd be so much fun. Like,
that's what I'm doing here at my brother's house. I'm not joking. 100%. We put in like the whole back patio. We had some guys come in and cement the entire back patio. Today we're about to go dig up a bunch of bushes. It's not my idea. I'm just doing it for my brother. But hey, what's family's for? I love him, so I'll be there for him.
Yeah. Dude, it gets you outside. I'd love to do that. Like, I've just been, I took a bunch of stuff to the storage unit today. And I was like, oh yeah, I did something. Like, I did something a little bit more physical other than sprint around the yard. But yeah, man. So, I mean, everyone's just, like I said earlier, it's like the Twilight Zone. It's just no one's working. Everyone's kind of concerned about money right now, but at the same time, some people aren't. It's just a weird time.
I think it's exposing something like within myself that I've noticed. that I always have a need to do something, always have a need to be productive. And if you talk to people, they're feeling the same things too. It's like a need. It's something that's like placed on me by my environment, by who I associate myself with, and, you know, by just the constant like drive through the American dream as like an entrepreneur. And I think it's been a good thing. I think for some people it's driving them crazy. And for me, I think it did at first too. But I think that the more I wrestle with it, the more I realize that that is something that's within me. That's like a problem I need to deal with. Because like if I feel like I am not content after putting in like 7 or 8 hours of work on a day off and it's 8 p.m. at night and I feel like I need to keep grinding, then that's something on me, you know, like I need to calm down. And I think that hopefully that resonates with other people, because I think we all feel this need to be productive during this time. And I think it's okay to just relax and just be present and enjoy what's going on within your life. And that's something I'm working on through this time. And I think that's where that balance comes in, because like, I think all three of us get it. We're trying so hard to grind and, you know, promote ourselves and have this successful business, but ultimately, like, what is it for if you can't stay present and just enjoy the fruits of your labor? You know what I mean?
I think that goes for exercise too. I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of people with their programming, like I know myself, like I was about to start, I'm doing the Rebel Performance the group mentorship. And they just sent out, you know, the AMRAP program. And I was like, yes, I'm going to crush this. Like, this is going to be amazing. I went in on a Sunday. I was like, I'm going to start the Monday on a Sunday because I want to be ahead of the game. Went in, crushed the first day, absolutely loved the program. On Monday, my gym shut down. And so I'm like, what am I supposed to do? But, yeah, like this is trash. But it is nice to like, you know, I go outside, I take my shirt off. I want some vitamin D and all that. But it's like I'm running around. I'm just enjoying like being physically fit, not having like a ton of aches and pains, and just being healthy. And I have, you know, there's other folks that I look at in the neighborhood, and you're like, you know, you pop your Achilles right now if you probably sprinted across the yard, man. Like, not to be judging, but you know, it's nice to feel good, and like you said, just enjoy the fruits of your labor. Be healthy.
Definitely.
In terms of, you know, we do all have more time. What have you guys been kind of diving into? Are you guys like looking at a lot of like exercise rehab, or are you just like diving into business, or you said you're learning the piano again?
Yeah.
We guys
well, I've been reading 2 books. I've been reading this one, Human Locomotion, the Conservative Management of Gait-Related Disorders, because my perspective is heavily biased by and Bill Hartman. So that's basically where I have most of my gait knowledge. So hearing it from a very traditional perspective, I don't want to say traditional like thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just hearing it through a lens through which I have not necessarily studied since college. So to get that perspective, I think is really cool, and to kind of integrate it with what I know. And it's actually taught me a lot of things. It's really blown me away. And also this book, Strength Training Manual, Agile Periodization Approach, by some gentleman's name that I absolutely cannot pronounce. Mladen Jovan. I'm not going to try that last name, but it's a pretty good read. Yeah. What do you think?
No clue.
Yep.
Jonovich.
That might be it. Yeah.
Jonovich.
Yeah. It's a good read. I'm enjoying it too. I'm almost done with this one. So that's what I've been studying. What about you, Jake?
I mean, I haven't really been diving into any books. You know, like I had mentioned before, I'd recently gone to the intensive for Bill Hartman. That was the last intensive. And then literally I left, and it was like, what, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, a month ago. And I left and the airports were empty. So it's like, oh, I got to get home. And then that day, everything shut down, literally. So quite honestly, I could study this stuff for the next year and still, you know, have to look further into it. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just diving into it as much as I can. I've grasped a lot. It's amazing. It's really helped me significantly with the way I'm testing, how specific I'm being, what my intents are, but also on a more global, simplistic level of just understanding like things. If it's not, we don't have to go so technical. Sometimes you can just like look at it from a bigger perspective. But at the same time, if I want to be specific, I can easily just zoom in and bam, I'm right here on something else that I'm looking at, whether it be from a different system approach or whatever it is. But for me, it's really just been digesting that, and I'm going to continue to do that, and like filter it and integrate it with what I've already known, and then also really just preparing for when Dallas opens up here, because I need to prepare to get new in-person clients, because I moved here just like everyone else did, right? All three of us are in the same boat, brother. You know, we have zero in-person clients for the most part, so we got to rebuild. So that's kind of what I'm doing, since I'm already been doing my thing online for a long time. So I didn't have to like push for that right now. I'm not really pushing for it at all. I'm actually preparing. I'm doing the opposite of what everyone else is doing. I'm actually preparing for in-person clients. So preparing like my Facebook ads that I'm going to be throwing out there, that none of you guys will see, rightfully so, because I'm going to be targeting one city, and going from there and looking to see how I can just grow the network in this area, for whenever it does come back. So who knows, but I'll keep doing both. But at the same time, I'm trying to make sure I'm prepared, because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to go full vacation mode, but sometimes it does help to enjoy yourself. But at the same time, I got to prepare, because when it comes back, those trainers are going to have their clients and I won't. So I got to make sure that I'm ready to do what I did in New York City. Now I got my clientele there. So, you know, just preparing. That's it, man. That's what I love to do.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think that's a good plan to have. Going forward, that's how I am too. Like, I'm always like trying to be prepared for whatever may or may not happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think for especially the type of stuff like we all enjoy, like training and the perspectives we have, I think that's just kind of a mindset that we have going into it all, you know. But
what about you, Kyle? What are you looking into?
And honestly, I've been going through a lot of just the basics. I really enjoy Zach Couples' information. I talked to Jake actually, because he had just gotten done with the intensive. He's like, you got to go. You got to go. You got to go. So I was gearing up for that next application. So I was like kind of just going through and seeing where I struggled, or, you know, something just didn't, like I couldn't communicate it well. So I was just like writing that stuff down, trying to see if I could figure out ways to communicate it. So I've been doing that still, just going through, and Zach has so much information out there, and I just like the way he speaks, and simplifies it, which has really helped with the content that I've been putting out there, I think. And then, dude, I've just been reading a lot about real estate stuff, honestly. Like,
Cool.
Yeah, just like diving into that, and just like you said, just preparing, you know, who knows what the market's going to do, and just try to be ready for it. So, yeah, I think, you know, at the end of the day, I look at all the stuff that we all practice, and I try to view it as like investments. So very heavily invested in my own health, keeping myself moving for the long term, especially working with geriatric populations right now. Like, I'll be able to fix myself till I'm gone, essentially, which is awesome. Not a lot of people could say that. And now it's really just a goal of trying to push myself financially and help as many people as possible. So if I can get myself financially there, then that takes a huge stress and burden off me. So that way I can then do whatever I want to do and spread the love, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just really making budgets and learning all that stuff. It's learning about money. It's weird. Necessary evil, I guess. You guys still
You're
there?
cutting out a bit, Kyle.
Uh-oh, there we go. Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay. Phew, that was close. Yeah, like I said, it's just necessary.
I hear your voice. I don't see your picture.
Oh, God. Well, here, let's do this. Since you can hear my voice, I'll ask another question for you guys, and then I'm going to run.
It doesn't matter. It's called a. It's just called edit.
Yeah.
Edit it.
Yeah.
Just edit. It'll
You're
be
good.
Fine. Right. I'll use this time to just cuss a bunch right in the middle of the night.
Yeah, go for it.
No, but like, you know, we're all looking at these different systems. I'm curious, Jake, like, you talked about different systems that Bill has been talking about. What is one that you think is I don't know, that you would say is like the most mismanaged that you might have learned at that, or like a system like of the super systems, I guess, or our big super system? What system do you think is mismanaged the most by health professionals?
I mean, I'm sure we're all going to throw out the same idea of respiration. Just how about the internal systems that, that, and again, that's huge. That's
Yeah.
global. So it's not like one is more important than the other, because if we don't have all of them, we're in trouble. We're dead. It's the same thing with respiration. If you don't have air pressure to hold you upright, right? The same thing with the fluids. We would just collapse to the floor. Or if we compress ourselves, we're going to eventually collapse to the floor. And so again, it's literally everything at once. But if we're trying to like break it down more, sure, I might say that I might be more of a air pressure fluid dynamic person than just a lymphatic person or something like that, but it's still the same thing happening at the same exact time. If you have swelling somewhere, I can make assumptions on what's probably going to happen based off of my tests of what's going on that you're doing, that may be more along the lines of, or what I would say, a gradient than something else. So, more compression than versus expansion. But again, it's just like, it's too many things going on at once. But I would say, of course, we're going to say certain movements with respiration. But again, all that's going to be combined together. So it's virtually impossible for me to say that. But I will say that the one really cool thing that I did hear from Bill, because everything it's not clear cut. Nothing is like that. And once you understand that we know nothing, like literally, he'll say that, I'll say that. I've said that for a long time. Once you understand that, things become a little easier. But like the one thing that really stuck out when we were at the intensive, he was talking about, why do you think, and this will resonate with you, why do you think you give walkers to geriatrics, right? So why do we give them a walker? So we're giving them basically another strategy to hold themselves upright, because they're so compressed. They can't expand anywhere. They're just so compressed in every aspect. But you might see, oh, they don't have muscle anymore. They're broken down. But a different lens, I could see it as they are so far compressed over their whole lifetime. They have no other strategy to keep themselves upright. So now they have to use a walker to push themselves backwards. Otherwise, they would fall to the floor. They have nothing else. So it's just, again, it's so many things at once. But someone that doesn't understand this stuff might see it as they've lost all their muscle. Yeah, that's true. They might have, but it doesn't mean that's the only thing. That's the reason why they can't stand anymore, right? I can collapse you in your chest right now. If I were to just tell you to exhale as hard as you can and push in your sternum and sink in the sternum and have you try to do a delt lift of any sort or any lift, you're not going to have the same strength as you would as if you were expanded A to P, period. And he even did that. He literally did it in the intensive. It was awesome to see, because, we all understood it to an extent, but it makes you think, like, it's not just muscle. It's not just fluid. It's not just air pressure. It's literally so many things that have to happen at once, right? So if you deflate yourself, literally, he pushed him down, his arm went flying down. But when he took a breath in and just did a nice Valsalva, he could hold it there forever, right? But it just makes you understand this stuff. You're like, okay, maybe there's so many things going on that I can't figure it all out, and I'm going to have to respect, but it's so cool to see. And you start to put the puzzle pieces together, and who knows when I'll be able to say that I've understood it all. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. And I'm okay with that. I just think that I'm on the right. Yeah, I just think I'm on the right. Bill actually says, we don't know if we could even understand reality because it would scare you and possibly kill you. That's what he said.
I love that.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That
we can't see it.
Seriously mess with me. Jesus.
It was awesome.
I mean, but like, I don't know, that like takes me on a whole nother tangent. Like, have you ever, like, I don't know, I've been on some deep Reddit posts, and like, there's people that post and like, oh, there's like alternate realities, or who was it? The guy who made Tesla, Elon Musk, he thinks like we're in potentially a simulation. And then that simulation is, well, his whole thing is like, that simulation is actually more boring than our real reality now.
Yeah.
Because it's like a video game. You only put in the stuff that sells and the stuff that like gets us going. So he's like, that reality is probably super boring if we are all in a simulation. But dude, I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation.
He's a genius. That guy's out
Yeah,
there, man. I respect him because I'm not like that. I wish I was.
I know. It'd be curious, like,
He's on another plane.
right. Yeah, I don't even know. If I could go back to school, I would definitely be an engineer, but I would never be like on that level at all. Like, well, you guys still there? All right. Dude, I'm gonna go inside. So let me hear about you, Connor, and kind of like what you think about the super systems and what's mismanaged.
Oh, I mean, I think Jake nailed it. I really don't have much to add. I think it really is just respiration. And I think if we breathe 20,000 times a day, then I think that needs to be respected, because you take far more breaths than you do steps in a gait cycle. So I think it needs to be respected that you're doing 20,000 reps of whatever your strategy is to hold yourself. So we can go and we can address individual muscles and isolated joints and look at the body as a series of things that work in, like, different parts, but ultimately it's just one overall strategy, and your body is, self-selecting a strategy unconsciously that it finds is the most stable for you at the present moment, given the options that you have. So it's not just going to be like, oh, I don't have hip internal range of motion, let me just give myself that really quick. It's like, no, I'm just going to find stability through this lack of internal rotation. So I'm probably going to go into more external rotation in order to feel more stable. And then you can have compensations that happen through that. And it all started through the respiratory strategy that you have in your body. And it's just one global, like, I think when we say respiration, people just think breathing. It's like, sure, but it's expansion and compression. It's working together. When you inhale, so many things happen within your pelvis, rib cage, even going down to like your femurs and your humerus, and it just works out from there. When you exhale, this compression strategy happens. So I think that if you're going to correct someone's body, let's not think about individual isolated things, adding up to what makes a human. Let's address this global thing we do 20,000 times a day. That way, you're not doing 3 sets of 10 on your correctives. You're doing 20,000 reps of correctives every single day, and you don't have to think about it. I think that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah.
Hey, I'll add right on to this. Just lastly, so I was super big into respiration before I even got into like Bill Hartman stuff. Okay, so I thought, and before that, I thought it was like fascial lines and movement and everything else, and I'm constantly just adding, right? So even before Bill, I got way into that. I understood all of it, at least in my understanding, right? And then I got there, and it's nothing but like we're shifting fluids. We're not even like, we're getting in the respiration, but we're not even like, it's so far on another spectrum where we're talking about another language again, like a completely different language. It's nothing like that. And we literally are putting people in positions, right? And I'm putting some in a very particular position to improve, let's just say, their internal rotation on the shoulder. Okay. And I'm not even telling them to like feel air go here, feel air go there, where I used to do that necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And I got an even better change in less time. Like, it just makes you understand, whoa, I don't know anything, but now I know I'm shifting fluids on top of the respiration, driving it with biomechanics and movement, fascia, everything's integrated, period. But if I can just put them in the perfect position that will help improve that range, right? I don't even need to feel expansion, because quite honestly, I've done it on numerous people, this one exercise in particular, where I'm putting them in the position. I'm just telling them, take a couple breaths, breathe in, breathe out. I don't care where they feel it, because I know where they're going to get it as long as they're perfectly placed. And it's just completely different, to the point where I'm like, whoa, there's just too many variables now. It's just, there's so many things at once. It's opened my eyes even further. And that's why I appreciate it even more now. So it's an amazing feeling. It's cool.
When you say fluids, I feel like people could be confused. Are you talking about blood? Are you talking about synovial fluid? Like, what are you talking about, the fluid in our guts? Like, what are you referring to?
It's, well, Bill will say 99% fluid, 1% stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to understand that. And
Yeah.
I think everyone will probably have to attend the intensive to get further into that. So I can respect that aspect of him. But yes, a lot of things, synovial joints, right, where the fluid in each joint's going to be shifting, that will affect the way that you move it, that joint, whether it's the knee, the elbow, the hip, all of it's going to be effective. And it's going to impact everything. I can go into like arthritis because it's just going to be in an area where no more fluids getting pushed around constantly, like circulated, right? So not necessarily blood, but that will be affected, right? But we're talking, so the guts in particular, definitely the guts in particular, and how you're positioning them and how quickly you're turning your guts over in order to achieve another movement, whether you're doing a cut, being able to bounce the guts off of you to push the other way. All these things, it comes into play. It's like a baseball. Bill asked, he actually was funny. I could say this. We're talking about me in baseball, and I was a left-handed pitcher in college, right? And he's like, why do you think that there are more right-handed pitchers that can throw a ball faster than lefties? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can name more left-handed pitchers that can throw harder than righties if we're adding everyone together, right? Would you agree? Other than Randy Johnson, Billy Wagner, who I brought up to him, because Billy Wagner is like 5'6", 5'8", I don't know, and he threw like 103 miles an hour for the Phillies at one point. And I'm like, Bill, what about him? He's like, well, that guy can turn his guts over against his normal physiology faster than anyone else. So we both agreed that if he was actually a right-hander, he'd probably throw 110, right? Because of the spinning of our guts is what we're talking about. We're fighting it as a lefty versus a righty. Versus it's easier to go towards the left side, technically, not talking about position of the hips, talking about purely guts and fighting your guts. How fast you can turn will be completely dependent upon how quickly you can turn your guts, fight the guts inside of you. So people who are super slow and might have flat feet, they can't spring out of that, right? They might have a flat foot because they're overpronated or whatever it is. They can't do this thing called ER. They can't come out of it. They can't expand, right? So it just depends on how quickly you can do it, because it's all happening so quickly. It just depends on what we're talking about and trying to get a different perspective of it. But it was really cool to see, as I have to say. It was amazing to see from that.
Did he talk about any like inflammatory like gut issues and how that might like, because like IBS, things like that, like how that truly like affects like positioning and like our abilities to move?
We went to a couple things. Compartment syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
We went through a couple, but not in particular, because honestly, that's why I love the seminar so much, is because we walked in there and he said this. He said, if you leave here and you only take away one thing that was worthwhile to you, that's your fault. You ask me whatever you want and I will tell you what I know. So it was literally whatever we wanted. So we all just went at it like that. Of course, there was some organization to it, right? But that's why it's so much different, and in my opinion, the best seminar I've ever attended because of that. Because it's literally, we just wrote stuff on the board. I want to learn this, and this. Next person, this, and this. And he understood, but all of them were like similar. But we, like, at one point we went over compartment syndrome. At one point we went over frozen shoulder, right? But there are few and far between. Again, if you understand this gut thing, or from the respiration standpoint, the fluid dynamic standpoint, you start to like make assumptions or connect dots without wrongfully making assumptions, of course, because we base things off of tests and only in our spectrum. So movement is what we're doing, right? But you can start to see if you're shifting your fluids in a certain position where you're more compressed in other areas and more expanded in other areas. So eccentric, concentric, whatever you want to put it as, right? So yes, they absolutely could have an influence. But we didn't go into specifically like what you had mentioned, but you can make an assumption as to inflammation or swelling in certain areas would have a different shift in pressure.
Right. Well, because I know from my experiences, I mean, I love Bill's information. I'm using so much more like the inverted positioning. I mean, I've literally just been playing around with it, and I know people aren't really breathing there, but I'm still getting positive changes in my table tests or my online stuff. They're just kind of struggling and hanging out there for a little bit. But I know from, like I said, my personal experience, I've had clients that have taken certain things out of their diet, and I'm like, you are moving completely differently and all that stuff. And like, I know from my own experiences as well, like cutting out certain foods. And like, even people will talk about it. They're like, oh, well, I removed gluten from my diet and my pain went away. So it's like, okay, well, what if there's these inflammatory responses? Your guts are just a brick in there, and they're not able to have like rebound effects. I mean,
oh yeah,
you're stealing movement options from yourself.
100%. I couldn't agree more with that. If we've done all we can with from a movement standpoint, and that's a lot, right? That's
Right.
all table testings, that's respiration, muscle, biomechanics, everything we're talking about, vision, it doesn't matter. If that's all clear or off the table, we still can't get to certain things, I would already have looked at the nutrition,
But even
or
like,
refer it out to someone that knows it better than I do. Because
now
that
I'm
will
even
play a
thinking
huge
about,
factor.
yeah, like think about a power lifter, someone that you want to have so much, like they want to be rigid, they want to have stability, all this stuff to get the weight up. Like, what if you fed them a bunch of inflammatory food?
I don't know.
Their guts are just like a block. Like,
I hope that doesn't help.
I know, right?
I just don't know, to be honest with you. I have no clue, but I hope that doesn't help, because that sounds very unhealthy. But again, from my understanding of that, as a strong power lifter, I want you to have little to no arc of range of motion. I don't want you to have more than 25 ER, 25 IR, potentially even less, because that's going to make you a better power lifter, because you got to go one angle instead of getting hit from other angles, right? So it comes back to like a physics standpoint.
I'm going to tell my power lifters to start carb loading and just like get it done. I need you to have
steroids and carb loading. It'll tighten them up.
Guts possible. Like, no, man, that's awesome. Like the whole fluid shifting, that's amazing.
It's just been a big change for me. And I can tell you right now, because I understood like reciprocal, alternating, contralateral rotations, all these things I understand with gait and whatnot. But then I started to notice certain things that I was probably pushing a little bit too far and losing something more important, like staying expanded back on the left and trying to rotate to the right. But I had a good understanding of it, and I think better than most. But at the same time, I'm like, whoa, no, I don't. Okay, now I have a different way of looking at it, and it's helped significantly of what I'm doing now with less massive rotation. Because if I go here, I'm extended back through here. There's no way. I'm coming forward. I'm doing a right turn. Period. I already know. So I should be actually more expanded here potentially, but it depends on how far you turn, where your hips are looking. All these things that I took into consideration, just not to the level of understanding that I might have now, or especially what I'm more excited about that I might have in 5 years. That's kind of my goal, because I don't know squat right now, and I'm going to say that in 5 years. But it's just really cool to see, because I can tell you it made the change. And again, how do I know? The table test showed it.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Yeah. I mean, that honestly like funnels right into, I mean, just, I know I wrote this question like about the super system and like what's mismanaged, but again, we all agree it's respiratory system and how people go about it. It's, I mean, even just like in the PTA program, like I'm sure you experienced, it's just, hey, diaphragmatic breathing, like that kind of stuff. And it's like, man, come on. And yet there's, like you said, someone on a walker and they just have the most like compressed rib cage you've ever seen. Like, we're just compensations on compensations. But I do think, talking about, the nutrition, like that question, I do still think that nutrition and then mental health are still huge, definitely mismanaged. And I mean, we can't say like in the health, I would say in health and fitness world, I know coming from Seattle, there's a lot of depression, there's all this stuff. And it's like, exercise is great for you. Awesome. But like, I don't know what to do for you in terms, like, I don't have a network of mental health specialists that I can send you to help you like deal with this problem, or even pain, all these people with chronic pain. It's like, there's a whole nother psychosocial side that we have no freaking clue. And it's just now starting to hit, I think, like people who really did for it, like we're starting to find out about it more, like folks like us. But general, I don't know, you go to like a personal training studio, they're not going to have a clue what to do, like, or even how that even makes them better at selling training or how to talk to people. So
I'm reading this book for I have this book club, and it's like, there's like, 15 people. We talk about this book. It's called Playing with Movement. And the guy makes a really good point about like the biopsychosocial thing. And he says that, imagine there's a kid on a playground and he falls off of, one of the little toys or one of the little structures, and he hits his butt straight on the ground. So there's two things that is going on right there. So he's going to head and he's going to look at his mom. His mom can react different way. She's either going to freak out and run towards him, and then he's going to start crying, or she's just going to shrug her shoulders, go, and then he'll start laughing. So those are two options right there. So clearly pain has a social dynamic factor to it. I mean, there's just no way. And two, because that child is still learning, when it's learning to walk and it's falling on its butt, it's learning, should this even hurt? Like, should there be pain? Is this actually causing a problem within my body, will inhibit my ability to survive and just go and live my life and be able to be a functioning member of my society? The brain is deciding, should this hurt? So there's two things going on there. There's biological things, there's social things going on, there's psychological things that are driving this process. And I think it's really important to understand that, because like if you're, I don't know, I hate to make this example, but like if you're in a loud CrossFit gym where they're blasting music, or like a loud heavy metal gym, blasting heavy metal, and you're trying to do like a 90-90 hip lift, you're trying to like do some expansion in your rib cage and your shoulder hurts. Are you going to feel better after that? I don't know. You probably can't focus because your sympathetic nervous system is driving you so hard because of these environmental factors. So I think it is multifactorial. And like Jake said, like, I don't know. we don't know. There's so many different factors, and all we can do is, take that we have. And I think if pain relief is the goal, then a sympathetic state, or the ability to alternate into a sympathetic state constantly, should be the goal.
Yeah, I think I've literally heard that same exact thing, Connor, that about the kid falling at a young age. I heard it from a different system I studied many years ago, and it just makes sense. It's like, so raising your kids, I don't have kids, so I can't talk about that and how to do it, but that just makes sense. Like if you baby them, they might start to think, oh, maybe I can just, start crying and get help with this, or that's what I'm going to do. It's what you develop, again. You learn so many things your entire life. You're always learning, you're always developing, but especially at that young age, it makes sense. So teach your kids to lose in sports too. There's another thing.
Oh, triggered.
Yeah.
Boom. Sorry, I lost a lot, and I got way better because of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I remember listening to Pat Davison talk about that stuff. Like he would like sit out in the middle. He would just like put trash cans out and just throw a ball, like, I don't know, like try and just like out in the middle of the winter. I was like, dude, you're crazy, man. Like, but no, I get it. Like I don't know, like it's such a different mindset to have. I'm glad I have that mindset now, because I know when I do have kids, like I'm like, hey man, just stand up, you're fine. But I've even had in my own experience, like I've had hip pain literally from like freshman year of high school, from like running track, hurdles, all this stuff, whatever. We can say I was out of alignment. We could say I had whatever thing. But at this point in my life, I'll still get a little zap here and there. And it's like, again, trying to be able to say, like, is this just like a chronic pain symptom, or is this a true problem that I need to address? 99.9% of the time, like I do my table test, I do whatever I want to do, my self-testing, it's like, I'm golden. Like, and that's, I'm really interested into like, especially like in a clinic setting, just being able to help people from that side, like try to tell them like, hey, like we have this strategy, like while you're doing a 90-90 hip lift, which whatever, you're already thinking about 50 things at one time.
Yeah. Also
maybe try to like do this and hold that position, and visualize your pain symptoms. Like what color is it? Blah, blah, blah. Like what color do you want it to be? And just trying to, I feel like that's only we're going to treat pain in a therapy setting or in any setting. Like you have to have that in your back pocket as a tool. But again, like you're saying, like, I feel like if you live in a city or you're always on your phone, you're always doing this stuff, you're always sympathetically driven, you're pissing in the wind. So, I mean, I'll tell my clients straight up, like, this stuff probably isn't doing anything. It's just us like hanging out and we enjoy our time together.
Therefore you feel better.
Therefore you feel better. Like it's just oxytocin. Like we know that has such a huge effect. So for me to say like, this is truly you getting parasympathetic, I think is.
What is that?
Yeah. Like what the hell is that? Like, but I don't know, man.
I'll even add on to that again. is like, because you could be, like Connor said, doing the 90-90 in the gym that you're not used to, that's very loud, but it's also like, I think you could get used to it if you actually put yourself in that situation long enough too, if you care to. Because I was in New York City and couldn't sleep for 3 months, and I actually hated it for 3-4 months because it was just so different than I was used to. People everywhere, 4:30 in the morning, you're having people screaming outside your window, and you hear it. Of course you do. You're in the city, right? But then I got used to it, and all of a sudden I just adapted. That didn't bother me anymore. And if I were to do like the actual test, I would just take my blood pressure certain times or whatever it is. I could see these things, and I'm willing to bet you I made an Instagram post about this before, where I was walking around Times Square and I was talking about these lights, these people, these noises that used to affect me, and now they don't. So is it a bad thing? I don't necessarily know. I'm not going to say it is or isn't. I don't think it's healthy. Yeah, it's an adaptation that I've made, and maybe I am just as healthy on paper if I do, but maybe not in the beginning. But maybe it can be seen as a good thing, because now I can be exposed to the country in Kansas versus New York City, and I can deal with either. You know, so it's whatever you want, I guess. You have to look at it that way. That's what I said. I was resilient. Yep.
Yeah. Human beings are amazing compensators. We're also amazing at adapting. Like, think of shit that's wrong and you can still function as a human being. You can still survive. There's amazing stories of human beings that have gone through just absolutely awful things, and they're still able to walk, still run, they're still able to do marathons, you know, like so I think it's the compensation kind of hand in hand with the adaptation. Maybe a compensation is an adaptation, right? You know? I mean, and I think it's fair to say it probably is. So I think it's just like, we're very resilient creatures.
Yeah. Our neuroplasticity, I think, is our number one weapon when it comes to anything, and just our survivability as a species, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But we've got I've got like 20 more minutes, fellas.
I got 5.
Yeah, I got to go at 1:30.
All right, sorry.
No worries. How about we do one last question? Let's just do that one, the fun question, since we've been talking about such serious stuff for a while. What animal do you most relate to?
Just an animal?
Dude, all right, I'll go first. How about that?
Yeah.
All right, man. So I was thinking about this, and, you know, I wanted to be like a total badass and be like, oh, like I'm a freaking grizzly bear, like I'm a, you know, something awesome. And I was like thinking about it. I was like, no, none of those. Like I think I'm a golden retriever. Like I'm just
golden retriever,
dude. I'm loyal. I'm there by your side. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I can sit. I can do what you tell me. I kind of do. I like to explore. I like to hang out. You know, I get excited to go outside. Like I'll eat anything you give me. Like, dude.
What dog won't?
Exactly.
What dog won't?
Dude, I think and you know, I'm faster than most dogs. I'm stronger than most dogs, but I'm not, you know, I'm no Irish wolfhound by any means. I'm not squatting 800 pounds, but
100%. Gotcha. That's tough. I don't know what I could say I'd be, but I could say a few things. But I mean, I'm all for being like a nice little tiger right there. I love tigers so much. I love big cats. I love them. I would
Joe
have.
Exotic.
Oh yeah, I would have Joe Exotic, baby.
Dude, I'm on episode 4 now. It's amazing. That show is a show on steroids.
I've been to that preserve, Carol's Preserve. I've been there. Yeah, because it's in Tampa. I used to live in Orlando. Big cat rescue. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, so it's interesting. You don't.
What's your opinion?
You don't notice those things. Like, they do a good job of, like, you know, keeping it. But like, I didn't hear about her and her husband and whatnot. But like, you see it, and first of all, you know what scared me most? Now we're just going completely off topic. This is awesome. But so the guy in the show, if you saw like the last episodes, you'll see that people were testifying against him. And the one guy testifying against him was shown at the end of the episode, basically high on crack. So it's just like, yeah, he's literally completely high on crack. And he's just on his bed, zonked out. And he's got no, you don't have teeth. Like I was in every city I've lived in. You see these people, you know who they are, you know how they act, right? And you're like, he's on crack or something, heroin, and it doesn't matter. And you're like, you're allowing him to testify. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that. There's no validity in that. So that was just a complete shit show. I'm sorry to say, but it was amazing, great to see. But like, once you're in that, you're like, whoa, that person's not stable. But it's a funny thing to watch. I can tell you that. Very interesting. They probably made a lot of money. Good for them, and grow it.
It's like
That's awesome.
real life Family Guy, or like it just does it. It's like a cartoon. Like it's just like
that. Yeah.
These are made up people, or like I don't know. Have you guys ever seen like 7 Days in Hell by Andy Samberg? Oh, dude, it's just like it's one of those like fake documentaries that they just made up completely, and they're just absurd. And so it's literally like characters off of that. But I don't know, man. But yeah, big cats are awesome.
Man, I don't know. I'd probably be I'm Joe Exotic. That's my spirit animal.
Oh my God. Joe Exotic, dude. You're
I strive to be as successful as him.
Jeez,
minus the jail part.
Minus the jail part. He's got a lot of money now, I bet, in jail.
He does.
Maybe. I don't know. He's probably got a lot of fines, and he committed a lot of fraud.
Everybody did. Everybody did.
True. Very true.
Oh my gosh.
That's the thing. Everyone's the bad guy in that story. Everyone.
That was cool.
Yeah. I don't know. That's what I'm saying, man. It's I don't know how these people are real. Like, I just don't get it. But
I believe it. I actually believe it. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, you're from Florida, man. I'm sorry.
You see some things. Everybody comes to Florida, so I see everybody from around the world. Everybody comes to Florida or California. I don't care. They all go to Florida. I can tell you that, and I've seen them all. So it's interesting to see. Yeah, it's cool.
Hey, I'm from Kentucky. I know how.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The first couple episodes of it, I was like, oh, I've seen those people before.
Yeah. West Virginia. Yeah.
I have a couple of cousins like that, but. Oh man. Well, guys, it was good hanging out with y'all. Thank you all for taking your time to do this. I hope we get to do this again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kyle. This is a great idea.
Oh, God.
Yeah, fellas. I'll shoot you guys a video and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thanks, man.